call the meeting to order. Dr. Deegan, can you lead us in the pledge?
Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sharon. Dr. Bridges.
Here.
Mr. Jester.
Here.
Ms. Clodfelter.
Here.
Ms. John. Colonel Curtis.
Here.
Do we have any special guests?
We do not have any special guests.
Any architects report?
Nope, no architects report this week.
Departmental report.
Under item 6, we have the departmental report, which is the update from Phase 2 of the Office of Educational Quality and Accountability School Performance Review, Chapter 3, Energy Management. And we're going to have Mr. Kyle Smith here. Mr. Ledford is unavailable this evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. I was hoping I'd get some response.
I said hi.
Tough crowd.
And I apologize. I have a little bit of a sore throat. The final chapter of the school performance review for the maintenance department is before you. It is items 33 through 46, I believe. And most of those items cover energy management and safety. Item 33, create a district energy manager. We hired Mike Cornwell. He came on board July 1st, and he's assumed the position as the district energy manager and safety officer on that. So he's been on the position now for about 8 weeks on that. The 34, the emphasis of regular training for custodial staff. We are on top of that. I know Mr. Guadarrama has put together quite a staff development program for our custodians. They meet twice a year, and he meets with most of them individually on issues that arise in their building. And we also have a procedural guidebook that we put together 2 years ago, even before the school performance review, that covers pretty much 95% of everything that a custodian coming in our building should know about energy, safety, how to keep the buildings clean, all of those things. 35, building a utility database each month for all the buildings in the district. We are in the process of putting that together. We have Mr. Cornwell's put together a last case of utilities, and we're starting to compare those to this year's. July and August of this year, he is currently putting those on the database, and we hope at some point here in the fall to present that to you about kind of the energy savings that hopefully we're going to see through his position as energy manager. 36, examine the water safety steps that we've taken during the drought, and we have implemented those. John Osborne and our custodians and coaches around the district have done a great job over the last 5 years of making sure that when we water, we're watering at the appropriate times, that there's not any water running down the street. We're not watering 2 days in a row. We even have a new watering system at most of our athletic fields that will not let the water run if there's a certain percentage of moisture in the soil, or even, get this, I didn't know they could do this, but they can even predict if there's an 80% chance of rain tomorrow and it's supposed to come on tonight, it will not come on. And I've asked John Osborne to get me some information on that. I find that interesting, and we'll bring that to you at some point on that. 37, as part of the comprehensive energy policy for the district, implement a reward system. We're looking into that, kind of seeing what some other districts are doing at this time, and we hope to come up with some type of reward system as we go through this process to show our schools that we appreciate all the efforts they're putting into trying to save the district money on their energy savings. 38, standardized set of energy saving reminders. We already do that. Mr. Cornwell will now be responsible for sending those out. We send them out in the fall, the spring, the winter, the summer, reminding custodians and principals and teachers that, if we're going out on fall break, we're going out on Christmas break, long periods of time, to make sure that windows are closed, thermostats are turned down, those type of things. During the summer, air conditioning units are turned off. So we already implement that. 39, install motion sensors for lighting in all new construction. We have done that. And as we renovate older buildings and replace the lighting systems, we are implementing, where possible, sensors into bathrooms, closets, things like that, that the light will turn off or turn on automatically as people enter or leave those buildings. Let's see, 40, kind of the same thing, renovation for implementing building automated systems. If you've been to Freedom, it's the ultimate in savings, water, utility bills, electricity, those type of things. And what we've learned out there, we're trying to implement in other places across the district. And you'll see that as we have to replace toilets, sinks, those type of things, we will use low flush toilets. We'll use water faucets that are that are water saving, those type of things we're doing as we have to replace items in other buildings. 41, of course, we're working on this right now at Eisenhower High School. We're replacing windows across the district with double pane as we can. We have a list of projects on down the line from Lawton High to Douglas that we hope to present to you soon that will also implement those programs at those schools. And as money comes available, we will try to replace as many as we can across the district. That is a great energy savings to our district as we can replace our windows. 42, inspect all ceilings, especially where repairs are done. Of course, that is part of our custodial handbook, is that anytime you have to get up into the ceiling to replace whatever it is, put wires in, that you make sure that the ceiling insulation is replaced back to where it is. We do have an infrared device that we can bring into a room, and it will show where heat loss is occurring into that room. So if we looked above a tile in this auditorium and saw that there was a spot where heat was rising up into the attic area, we would make sure that we got up there and made sure the insulation was replaced, or it may have been moved out as we work in the buildings at times. So we're making sure that that is done. 43, we are having quarterly inspections of doors, windows, making sure that we're checking for air gaps, filling those out, replacing window seals, door seals, those things that need to be replaced across the district. Number 44, create a schedule for inspecting and replacing insulation across the district. We have some areas that as roof repairs are needed, some of the insulation becomes soaked with water, can be a mold hazard. It loses its insulation value as those things happen, and we're making sure that those are replaced in those areas. And then as we replace new roofs, we're putting in new insulation in areas as needed for those particular buildings. 45, whenever possible, replace our bathroom fixtures. Excuse me. Like I told you earlier, we are looking at doing that with high efficiency models as necessary, or as we replace old fixtures in older parts of the district. Can be an expensive endeavor. Those high energy faucets are a little bit more expensive than just buying a regular faucet, but they're worth the savings to the district in water. 46, kind of the same thing there. Looks like that was put that on there twice. I apologize for that. 47, radiator combs. We have, of course, in Oklahoma, a lot of hailstorms, and a lot of times the hailstorms beat up our air conditioning units. They cause the radiators to close up. We have bought several fin combs that can be used to straighten those radiators back out to make sure that they run as efficiently as possible, allowing air to pass through them. And of course, we've been doing that for quite a while, even before the school performance review was done. Any questions?
Good job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Your report?
Under item 7, report of the superintendent. We have item A, consideration and action regarding a proposed 25-cent per hour increase for support employees on the support salary schedule. And this is for hourly employees, support staff, across the board, 25 cent. And I'm going to go ahead and read something that we shared last year for perspective. Last year, we kind of shared a plan, and I'm going to go ahead and quote it, actually what I sent out to the press and to the staff, to the board. This is what I shared with everybody who wanted to get a copy. It says, I quote, "As funding allows," and this was last year, this is the plan put forth, "we will address the 3 major pay scales, extra duty, certified, and support, on a rotating basis in the coming years. Support and/or certified scales would need to be the next across-the-board adjustment since extra duties are addressed in this rotation. Last year, we adjusted extra duty salary or pay. Constant small adjustments can have a substantial impact over time." I just want to remind the board and the public that we made a commitment to do this on an ongoing basis. We hit the extra duty stack last year. This year, I'm focusing a small increase for support. It costs about $355,000 to do this, is what we estimate, but we have to be able to sustain it year after year. Because there is the state question 779, we don't know what's going to happen with teacher salary by the end of the year. I think it's prudent for us to focus a small step on the support side. So this would be a permanent part of our salary scale. It would be a permanent part of the pay structure. And a good way to think about it for the average support staff person, it's going to be anywhere from about $250 to $400 per year increase. And that's just a rough estimate, depending on how many hours and days a person works. So again, it is small, but it is part of our plan as a district to address this continually over the years.
Dr. Deegan, is that reflected in this district budget?
It was built into the budget,
It's
yes.
built into the budget, okay.
So,
I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
okay, now item B, with consideration and action regarding the proposed 75-cent per hour increase to the minimum wage. Currently, our minimum wage of the district is $7.25. This affects a small number of employees that are substitutes, et cetera, temporary workers. It'll cost the district a little bit under $50,000, $48,420 is what the projected. But that will mean nobody at LPS makes less than $8 an hour. I think that's significant.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Item C, consideration and action regarding a proposed 100 one-time allocation for all certified classroom teachers. We've estimated this at $92,900 at the moment, but once we hear from our principals, we'll be meeting with them next Monday to help explain how this works. It'll be managed at the building level. There's some more details, but the intent is to, for all of our classroom certified teachers, to provide them with a small amount of funding for the classroom to buy classroom supplies, educational materials. It's a small amount. We wish we could do more, but we think it's a good start.
But isn't this in addition to money that we funneled back towards the classroom 2 years ago?
Correct. And
Those were to the school themselves, right?
yes, because we've kind of developed a pattern. 4 years ago, this will be the 4th year in a row that we've had a building site budget directly from district funds. 2 years ago, last year is when we started giving the sites a bond fund that they had control over their bond committees, and they had 2 of those. So last year, where 4 years ago there was no budget at all for the principals, last year, for example, there was $750,000 directly in the hands of the principals. This goes up even another step where it gives the principals, but now, and again, this is a one-time, God willing, we'll be able to do it again next year, but at the moment, we can only commit to 1 year. But this will be now the next step progression would give the teachers a little bit of, just a very small, we wish you could do more, but it's something that we can support this year.
And we're not making any restrictions on that. I mean, anything for the classroom.
we're gonna set up the guidelines with the principals. We can't have 1,000 purchase orders, so the principals will set up
Okay.
those priorities. They will manage it at the sites. We're meeting with the principals next Monday to outline that. So, any teachers that are watching, just wait to word from your principals. We'll be meeting with them next week to explain how
I
to manage it.
appreciate you guys working to put that in, because, I mean, we all know how much teachers spend out of their own pocket, and even though $100 isn't
Yeah.
a ton, it will help, and I appreciate that.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Under item B, we have consideration and action concerning approval of the 2016 summary of district budgets and fiscal information with estimate of needs under separate cover with Diane Brinstetter. And as Ms. Brinstetter approaches the podium, I do, the district is made some good financial strides in recent years, and I want to applaud the board for its commitment to reinvest in our people as much as possible, and I hope we can keep building on that. If the board weren't supportive, we would not have more money in the hands of our principals and our staff. And hopefully, over the years, if we've gone that far in 3 or 4 years, just imagine where we can be if we keep working toward this. So I appreciate that. Ms. Branstetter.
Thank you. Okay, before you have your budget. I hope you've had an opportunity to kind of look through it so you can kind of follow me as we go through. You know, as with any budget, the starting point is obviously the revenue. So we're going to start there under tab C, which is the revenue. And there are some very unique things that I wanted to make sure that I pointed out because they are the driving force of it. Generally speaking, what I do is take the prior year collected revenue, base it on that, plus whatever 60 days that I have into the current year, and run some numbers to figure out where the trends are changing and whether the revenue is going to hold steady or needs to be adjusted. I will take a few moments to share with you some of the areas in which all the indicators to me at this point indicate that they will be dropping. You can see under the second category were the intermediate sources of revenue, the county 4 mil. Last year we got in $1.9 million. Currently I've got that set at $1 million, so that is quite a bit different. Currently, right now, we've only collected $14,000 compared to the $34,000, which is double the amount. So within the 60 days that I have to go with, it's already down 50%. So that's how I'm basing my numbers, is where we were at today. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't come back in January and adjust these, and we'll try to keep you abreast of any of these that come up or down. But for now, I think this is the best scenario that we have to go with. It's always better to start low and then build from there versus build the budget too high and then have to take something away. The next category I wanted to bring your attention to is, again, the gross production. It's, again, down by about $32,000. The motor vehicle, we knew we had a problem with that last year. Right after we set the budget, the trend, it fell off. And again, I think it's going to fall a little bit more before it holds steady. So that one has been also decreased about $1.2 million. The rural electric, it's down slightly, not bad. The state school land earnings, currently I have it set at $1.8 million, so it's down about $500,000. The state aid, which is in the next category down, foundation and salary incentive aid, it has also been cut already this year. Generally speaking, when we get that allocation, I usually get it in July. I get a mid-year in December, and that's it. Last year, I think I got 9 different changes to it. This year, I've already gotten 2. In 60 days, I've already got 2 changes. So this is where it's setting at today, and it is about $138,000 less than what we took in last year. Now, the most significant one is the one that's the 3,400 area, which is the state categorical. And I think I mentioned a number of those at the end of the fiscal year, giving you an update as to where we thought we were going to be moving into September. And that was the staff development was cut completely, $46,000. Currently, we have no idea whether we will get anything on the National Board Certified. That's $240,000. Our textbook allocation went away completely. That was $718,000. and the reading sufficiency, which was $192,000. So that was a $1.2 million cut completely right off the top. We knew those things coming in. The other things from the the other state sources of revenue, really weren't sure about those. So, as you can see, if you'll go to page C2, that what's really odd about it is at the beginning when we set the budget last year, it was $124 million. We took in about that much, $123,400,000. But this year's budget is also being set at the $124 million. They look the same, but they really aren't. These decreases in revenues, because of our healthy revenue shortfall account, you can see that right above there. We had $12 million carrying over versus the $8 million from last year. That is what is holding us steady. And I think we've said that from the beginning. That was the goal of the district, was to get that revenue shortfall account up as far as we could get that, so that when all the cuts started to come, then we would be in good shape. And that you can kind of see that we are holding steady. Okay? All right. So you have all the other revenues from all the other accounts. I won't go into every one of those, but you can kind of see them. They pretty much have stayed stable, so we won't go through a lot of those. I will back up and let's move to, under tab D, I will mention, since Mr. Jester inquired about it, yes, the salary increases are already built in here. That's why we had them approved prior to approving this. And then on page D1, down about 3/4 of the way, you have a project number 134, and that's where the classroom resources will be. We'll be able to track it by school so we can see how we'll allocate it by site to each of the schools, and then we'll be able to track it for them. Okay? So you can see that that's already built into the budget. Okay? So let's move back to tab B, and I won't go over all of the funds, but under B2, I will give a summary of the general fund itself. You can see that we will, again, we're going to begin with the $124 million in revenue. We are expecting to spend $117 million of that. Down below, under the expenditures, you can see that we're going to spend about $75 million of it for salaries, 63%, 64% of the budget, $23 million of it for benefits, about 20%. That's roughly 84% of our budget going for our salaries. In the past years, we were nearing the 90% mark, and that was kind of what was holding the district back from being able to do other things. And as you see, we have slowly worked our way down to a much more manageable percentage. And then the $19 million for the non-salary. A lot of the non-salary you'll find over in under the allocation tab if you wanted to see exactly some of the different areas, your utilities, those sorts of things, all of those things. So then that will leave the district. If you'll recall, in July when we came, our goal was to be about the $10 million mark. It was about 9.95 is what I kind of predicted at that point. But because of the $4 million in revenue shift right now, up and down here and there, we're setting the revenue shortfall account at $6.3 million, which is roughly about the same place we were a year ago. So all in all, I think we're holding steady for now. I think it's a very good point for us to be at currently. On B3, you can see the levy. I will take just a few minutes to let you know a little bit about the levy. You know, we've always had the freedom in there that's always skewed the numbers just a little bit. Currently, it only has $2.7 million left to pay out on it. So then it should be finalized by June 30th of this year. That's our goal, to be completely done with it. And then the levy will get back to being pretty much normal. But for now, it's not too bad. Currently, we're only going to take in about $2 million for the buildings. Obviously, our bond money and our city sales tax money is really shoring up our buildings and that sort of thing, because as you can see, $2 million is not going to go very far with the aging buildings that we have. Okay? All right, and finally, if you'll move back to B1, just in summary, you can see the different funds that we have, and you can see where our budgets were originally last year at the $156 million. The actual revenue collected was $159. We expended $132 million. Our carryovers in all the funds together totaling $26 million. And currently this year, for the 2016-17 school year, we're going to set the budget at $149,699,964. And there's, you have it. Any questions?
How are we affected by the $140 million that is going to be given back to the schools? How much are we going to expect?
You know, I saw that email just about 30 minutes ago. I did not click on it to actually see what we were going to get back on that, but I did see that come in about 30 minutes ago. It said that a portion of it was going to come back.
Right.
I apologize, I did not have an opportunity to look at it.
And she has, they're, I guess, requesting for her to put it back into the funds that it was taken from.
It said a portion. The caption of it said that a portion of it would come back. But I did not click on it and actually review it.
Yeah, actually, the governor wanted all of it to go to the schools, but it's going to be allocated
Back.
to all the state agencies. Yeah. So
They
it
were
won't
going to-
be,
it
won't be
said-
much.
It kind of indicated that they were going to use a portion of it and only give back portions of it. It's kind of what I read on the caption.
Yeah.
But I'll keep you informed on
Yeah, because I didn't read it that
Yeah.
way. Okay.
that. All right?
Great. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to go ahead and underscore some things Ms. Branstetter said. From 2010 to this year, at the end of 2009, 2010, I believe it was 2010, we operate per year on $15 million less per year in our general fund. That's the difference between what this district operated on just 6 years ago, $15 million. I think it was 14 million revenue, 16 million expenditures, or vice versa, but it comes out to be about $15 million a year. That's how much less we make the district run on than we did just 6 years ago. That's not, that's significant.
That's impressive.
But and also what Ms. Branstetter shared about our carryover, we ended the year with a potentially a $12 million carryover, but once you figure in all the outstanding and all the budget cuts that she also mentioned, we're planning to have a $6 million carryover. That's the purpose of a revenue shortfall fund. And what it has done, it's not only enabled us to keep things steady in the district without any crazy, having to do any drastic changes, it's also enabled us to do some very small things with the salaries and things like that. So I thank Ms. Branstetter for managing her funds and keeping us on top of things. So, and I thank the board for supporting the need for fiscal responsibility. It's a lot less disruptive when we operate this way.
Ahead of the game.
Item E, we have consideration,
Do we need to vote on that?
you need to vote on
Yeah,
that, yes.
okay.
I make a motion, we approve the budget.
A second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Okay. Item E, consideration and action regarding the proposed revisions to policy EIED graduation requirements. This simply updates our policy to reflect the changes in state law.
It's amazing to me how much more they have to have now than when I graduated.
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Item F, an information item. For this, I have Mr. Rick Owens come, and that's the 2016 ACT College Readiness Report. This will be Mr. Owens. Is this your first time addressing the board in your new position? First time. All right.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. If you'll refer to page 13, I'll try to brief everyone on this. Table 1 is a 5-year ACT tested graduates, and a little research on it with my colleagues, and we think that is any time during the high school year they take it more than once. We've compared that with the Office of Educational Quality and Accountability, and if you'll look at the composite there on 2015, it says our district scored a 20.8, but our graduating seniors in 2015 scored a 21.2. So this report gives us the students that take a test anytime during high school. So there is some variance there from year to year, and it could be because of mobility. If you'll notice on the number of students tested ranges anywhere from 600 to 526. Figure 1, the explanation of that graph is, if you look at the bottom on the right, if you score 62%, if you look at the bar graph, 62% of our students that have 18 or higher have a 50% chance of making a B or a 75% chance of making a C in college. In the same way, if you look at math, 30% of our kids that made a 22 or higher on the ACT have a 50% chance of making a B or a 75% chance of making a C or higher. Page 14, the next page, refers to figures 2 and 3, and what that means there is if you increase the rigor of coursework, you're going to get a better score. For example, if you take Algebra 1, 2, Geometry, Trig, and Calculus, you get about a 21.9 is what we did. But the less courses you take, the less you're going to score. Obviously, the range runs from 15.7 to 22.4, depending on how many courses you take. And the same thing, again, it happens in science. If you take more science, you're going to score higher. And at the bottom, college readiness, an action plan. We do work close with Cameron. A lot of our students take concurrent enrollment there. We've discussed maybe someday having college courses offered at school, at the high schools, so they never have to leave campus. But we do have a good working relationship with Cameron. We have, over the last 5 years, we've had 630 of our students receive degrees from Cameron University. And for example, 266 from Eisenhower, Lawton High, 208, MacArthur had 154, and Gateway had 2. That's over the last 4 or 5 years. A lot of students went out of state, of course, to other universities, but working with our local university, we've had quite a participation. 2 and 3, Mr. Gibbs is working with that and trying to accelerate that endeavor with the STEM program. And number 4, Mr. Mattingly has addressed that last year, and he's trying to increase the awareness of college and career. At number 5, our state has taken the lead on that, but last year we gave all the juniors an ACT test, and we're going to do it again this year. At the local level, we give what we call the STAR test, which there's a progress monitoring, and the Alpha test, which is a grade level test. Any questions?
I have a question. So this compares us to the state, district to state. Do you know how we compare nationally?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Good question. Mr. Owens, the graduating are actually a 21.2 composite
At
Yeah, the senior.
of actual seniors, 21.2.
Yeah.
2015 was a 21.2. MacArthur 21, Lawton High 20.6, Eisenhower was 22.
Okay.
You put them together, you get average.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. There was no action on that. Item G, information items, superintendent announcements. I only have a couple today. One is Friday night. We are officially, Mr. Moore will have to help me if I get into trouble here. Mr. Will Shields, we're going to have a ceremony where the Lawton High is going to retire Mr. Shields' jersey and his number. Of course, Hall of Famer. Awesome. I think that's going to be a good opportunity. So I look forward to that. That'll be at the ball game at halftime, I believe. So,
Well, the people that don't know, he has donated so much back to the school, free of charge, and has given a lot of his time. It's very well deserved.
yeah, and
Definitely.
yep, he is a big Lawton fan. So we're proud of him, and I think it's a good opportunity for the district. Want to mention I wrote an article this weekend about the leadership. There's a grant that Cameron University, Great Plains, and Lawton Public Schools is involved in that will be providing leadership training to not only the school districts, Cameron, Lawton, and Great Plains, but also to the staff and the students. One of the parts of the grant will allow us to include 200 city leaders, students, and other people to come participate in the training. But the other part of the grant is afterwards, we'll actually be able to take the exact same training into the high schools, the college, and the career tech. And so it's a very unique thing. It's enabled us to really serve different segments of the community. It's not just going to serve the school board or our students, but we're talking about city council members. We'll have a place at the table. Tribes, we're going to work getting Fort Sill represented. It's really a unique thing for the community, and I want to thank Cameron, Great Plains for partnering with us, but most of all, the McMahon Foundation who funded that. So without the McMahon Foundation support, it wouldn't have been possible. But it's a really unique experiment for the district and for the community to really cooperate in such a way and focus on leadership. And so I just wanted to brag on the community because they're doing something really revolutionary.
It's awesome to read about it and hear the testimonials of people that are involved in it.
Right.
Inspiring.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing. But actually, I didn't miss anything on my announcements. That is that's all the announcements I have.
Okay. Does anyone need anything removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, I would like to remove page 93, the purchase order for $10,000 to environmental measurement. I'd like to remove that from the consent agenda.
Anything else? Did you get that, Kathy?
I move for approval, except for the item on pages 93 of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Okay, for the item on page 93, and this will have to be a question for you, Mr. Wade. Ms. Bentley asked me if it should be a certain amount, and I am probably, I went up higher, looking at the per diem there, and that should have read $2,700, is what I'm saying. So I'm wondering, Mr. Wade, can we go ahead and adjust that purchase order to $2,700 and be done with it, or do we have to bring it back?
No.
It reads $10,000, but we weren't supposed to consider the ongoing construction because we're not entering that phase at the moment. That would be a separate purchase order later. So can we amend that from $10,000 to $2,700?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I would recommend.
I mean, in this meeting and short in this budget, yes.
Yes.
I mean, in this agenda, yes.
So I recommend the PO for $10,000 to environmental measurement on page 93 be amended to actually reflect $2,700, which is what the board actually approved.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes. Executive session?
I have no need for executive session.
All right, very good. Personnel report?
Under the personnel report, item 13, the superintendent's personnel report, vote to approve the employing, promoting, disciplining, or receiving resignation of individual certified and support salary personnel listed on pages 143 to 153.
My question is, on 151, is this a typo where it says that the personal care assistant, it says the same thing? They're going from the personal care assistant MMS to the personal care assistant MMS.
It says MHS.
Oh, I see it now, it says H, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I caught it now.
Change in location.
I was a little tired when I read it. Perfect.
I move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes. Let's see. Any consideration of new business?
I have none.
Nothing? Okay. Our next board meeting?
Could I bring up something
Oh,
that I
sure.
think is a good thing? Can we do that now, or we need to?
Oh, announcements, we're almost there.
Almost there.
Okay.
Unless you have new business that
No,
you'd like.
no, no, no,
Okay.
no.
So our next regular board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 22nd. Is there any consideration for any special meetings at this time?
I did have a request, but I'm going to, since Ms. John couldn't be here, she requests we consider having a special board meeting, but we'll just discuss that at the next board meeting.
Okay, all right. Okay, board announcements.
Okay, I would like to say that I went to the OSSBA conference that we had in Oklahoma City, and it was very, very large. I was very overwhelmed by everything. Over 1,800 attendees, and as I walked into the big meeting at the very first, it stated Lawton High Honors Orchestra. It was amazing. I took pictures of them, we recorded them. I was just very proud. It was a very proud moment to come in and see our orchestra there performing for them at the beginning. So very, very much want them to be applauded.
Absolutely.
Let me add, a minute ago, I gave Ms. Bentley credit for trying to stop me from making that purchase order $10,000. I have to give Ms. Clodfelter credit for pointing out today that it should have been $2,700. So good eye, she did a good catch. And Colonel Curtis, this is all, when we do board announcements, this is also an opportunity if you have anything you want to share with the board too.
Not today. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Ken,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
call the roll, please. That's Ken's favorite.
Take a vote. Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Can I sign even though she didn't?